Hello, hello. Today we are going to talk about different types of brushes. Now, this is always difficult for me. It always has been. But, I'll just kind of go through a few and show you what they are, and we'll do maybe some paint strokes or something. Let me get some paint out here and kind of see what it looks like. And I know it can be very difficult because whenever you're taking a lot of classes online, they'll say, hey, you need a number 6 round, you need a number 4 flat, you need a bright. It is very confusing because no two companies that I found number their paintbrushes the same number, and they don't always call it the same thing. So let's give this this is kind of a basic overview of what the brushes can do. Now, any brush works. I mean, you can paint with your fingers. So sponges, I mean, anything. So we've even painted with forks. But this will kind of give you a basic idea of what they do. I know that a lot of times when you are learning to paint, you want to paint exactly how the teacher is painting and exactly what they're using so that yours will turn out exactly the same. And it never does, because no two people paint the same. I mean, ever. Oh, well, okay. They can, but in most cases, especially when you're starting out, you don't paint just like somebody else. So let me take a look here and I'll show you what kind of brushes I have just right here on hand. And maybe this will help you a little bit. And if you have questions, please let me know and I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, so let's take a look here. Sorry. Gotta see my messy place. Okay. So it's a little wet, but this is a mop, okay? And I use this whenever I'm painting something. Let's say I'm painting something and I want to blend it real softly or do something over it. Let's see. And a lot of times they'll just say, get a mop and a mop brush. And it's a little damp, so it's not the best. But the mop brush kind of goes over the top here. And we'll blend it really nicely and softly. So I do this a lot with clouds and with backgrounds that I just want it to blend differently and maybe look a little different. So the mop brush, this is a mop brush, and you can find them at Hobby Lobby. I even think Walmart might have some, but that's it. That's what it looks like. So now a lot of people, and I've recently learned how to use these too, but this is a filbert. It took me a long time to realize what this was. So it is a brush that is rounded on the end. See? This one is a 1-inch, and I'll tell you how you can tell. Most brushes have the name and the size right here down the side, including the manufacturer. So this one it's a Crafters. I paint on it. It's a Crafters grade. The number is R9958. It's by Royal and Langnickel, and it's a 3/4 inch filbert. So that's actually written on it, which is really handy. So the filbert is really nice because it has a little round end, right? And you can do round, flat, little circles with it. And it just gives you a whole different brush stroke. So see the round end on there. It also can get pretty flat on the end for like tight little lines like this, right? So you're gonna do little lines with it if you need little lines. And goes right up against there like that. And I'm literally on the very tip of that brush like that. So that's a filbert. This is a 1-inch flat. So this is by Yinghua in Japan, and it says, actually it's I don't know what it says. I think it says 112. I'm not really sure, but this is let's see, this is a 1-inch, right? Let's just compare. See, even I get a little mixed up here because this is a 1-inch, so this is like a 3/4. Okay, so that's a 3/4 inch. And sorry, I got cut off. I got a phone call. And I had to bring the dogs in because it's gonna storm in a minute and they're afraid of storms. So let's see, we're discussing filbert. So this is the 3/4. This is a flat, right? So this And this has got pretty strong bristles. And I've noticed that with, especially with acrylic, you want some really sturdy bristles, because if they're a floppy, like, I don't even know if I have a floppy one. I'll find one though. If they're real loose bristles and real floppy bristles, they won't do what you need them to do, and they don't hold the paint like they should. So this is a flat 3/4, and it's great for lines, for backgrounds, and it just goes back and forth. Now also, it's really good for like little lines like this. And see, kind of making the rough lines there. I just put the end down and just pull it down. And that, I use a lot of that for, you know, like the under fur on animals. And just on backgrounds and stuff. So that's what that looks like, sorry. So now, put that in the water. This is a round, okay? And a round brush is just long and round, basically, on the very end. Some are more pointed. This one has a pretty good point. Some are more pointed than others. This is called a fine touch. It doesn't even say what size it is, okay? But it's probably about 1 inch. So this is really good for, you know, and fine lines. One thing I've learned, I'll teach you right now. When you're making lines, if you put your pinky down first, and then you drag your pinky with the line, you can make a straight line. And of course, lines thick or thin as you want them, right? And that'll make lines, and it's really good for, you know, filling little areas like that, making circles also, like the filbert. This one I think makes circles a little better. And it's actually, you can see that some of the bristles are loose on this. I think you can see it, sorry. And that's why there's like marks on the outside. But that's okay if I'm doing something in the background and I want it to be really like foggy, then it gives you a nice foggy outline. And I really am just scrubbing that in. That's almost dry. And I just scrub that in like that to make that circle. So that's a round. This is also a round. This is not a liner. This is a round. And it's actually thicker than you would think. So you want to be careful whenever you buy the round brushes, because some say script liner, some say round. And this is a script liner. It looks real similar, but it really is a lot thinner, okay? Now, script liners, you can dip it in water and then dip it into the paint, get it kind of inky. And again, use your pinky, and you can make really nice lines with the script liner, okay? So like you're doing flowers or the little green pieces or however that comes off the side of flowers, you know, this is really good for that, for your little curly cues and squigglies. That's perfect. So that's a script liner. And again, it's real thin and long. So brushes also have different handle lengths. This one's super long. I don't paint 6 feet from my canvas, so I use a shorter brush, and if it's too long, I just choke down on it. And that's just my preference. I need to look up what it's really for, but most people tell me use a longer brush to get further away from the canvas, so that's what I do. Now this one is a, let's see if it says on here, Royal and Langnickel. I have a lot of those. It must come in a set. They call this one an angular brush. And they don't tell me what size it is. Oh, it's a number 6. Okay, so number 6, and that's maybe 1/2 inch, I think. Now, these are some of my favorite brushes because you can do the lines like this, and you can hold it sideways and make a flat line. See, so let's do it over here. And you can make it flat like this, and it works out. And you can also go on the very tip and make a line. So these are angular, and that makes a really, I just use this a lot because you can use it on the background, you can blend it, you can make lines with it, like I just showed you, real flat. So I just dip it into the paint back and forth until the edge is flat. That's the edge of the brush right here, and it's really flat. And then I just lay it straight up and down on the canvas, and you can just pull and make yourself a line. Okay. and it makes kind of lines, and then you can use it to fill in. And you can use it to go down the side of something, like because it is slanted, you know, it will paint a little bit in a different direction for you. Okay, so there's that one, and then what else do we have? I think that's all I have right here. Those are my basic brushes, and then of course the different sizes, right? So if I'm doing details, I have these little tiny detail brushes, and all I do is I pick them out how I think they're gonna paint for me. And I use paint brushes that are good for me, that fit my hand, that I like how they paint, and you'll find that you'll find your favorite brushes. Most of my brushes are inexpensive, especially like chip brushes and background brushes. Like this is like a chip brush, right? It's rough, it's got really rough edges. So I don't really see how rough that is. You don't really want to, you wouldn't want to fill something with that, like a snowman or, you know, a body of a horse or something, because see how rough that goes in. But that's really good for backgrounds and other things as you learn. This is a palette knife. It's one of many, many, many different ones. This one, I like this one because you can actually, you just load it on the very edge, right, like that. And then you put it down and just hold it crooked, a little sideways, so it's not flat, and you just pull it along, right? Now, you'll learn, if you practice, you'll learn how different you can make it. Like you can give it different textures by holding it different. And see, it's leaving little marks there. So it does different things, and that's the palette knife. Now, some of them, this doesn't even have a size or anything. I know that they have all different names and all different sizes, and you just kind of have to figure out what's best for you. One of my favorite ones is actually a very cheap, it's a mess, sorry. It's a very cheap plastic, and I think I got this at Hobby Lobby in one of their little kits, and I use this for everything. For blending and for making my marks, and, you know, for just about anything on a palette. This one does it for me. It'll go flat, it'll leave marks, whatever I need it to do. So that's a palette knife, and this is probably not even, you know, a quarter. But it came in a kit with Hobby Lobby. So the brushes are, I can't express how much I need to tell you that it's based on your personal preference. What brush is good for you, fits in your hand, does what you need it to do. And everything, as you learn to paint, will paint differently, and then you'll learn to add water or some kind of a media that will loosen it up as well. And you'll find out which one is the ones you like, which ones are the ones you like the best. So that's just a quick thing. I know it doesn't help much because it really is personal preference, but when I first started, I was watching Cinnamon Cooney, I guess about, gosh, I think she had just started, I don't know, 10 years, 8 years ago, I have to look. And I would get so lost on, she would say, okay, we're gonna use a filbert, and this is a filbert, but I didn't quite understand what it was. And they don't necessarily say that on the package either, but I went out and bought a bunch of cheap brushes because I didn't know if it was something that I was going to really follow through with. I've always painted, but this was, I wanted to know if I wanted to be serious about it. So I bought cheap brushes. The problem with cheap brushes is that they fall apart on you, and you're going to get them. Sometimes you'll end up with little pieces in your painting, and you have to pick them out or use a brush to pick them out. So the bristles are not really in there really well, and a lot of times they're uneven or they spread out real quick, and it's kind of like it's ruined that way. But don't throw them away, because if you're going to use them to scrub something, like, you know, you put down pressure hard, like, yeah, that's professional noise, but you scrub, right, and you will damage the brush scrubbing. And so I use my damaged brushes for scrubbing. I save probably almost everything that I have. And but like I said, you want them to be kind of firm. You definitely want it to be made for acrylic paint if you're painting with acrylic, and for oil if you're painting oil. Oil is such a different, boy, it's different. And I've been taking oil painting school with Evolve Artist, and I'm in one of the last blocks right now, but it is definitely different, and it's harder than I thought, but it's so much fun. So if you want to paint oil. It's great. Paint anything you want to paint. But anyway, I'm really stuck with acrylic right now. And if you have any questions about brushes, I don't know how much help I gave you. I'll probably do another one because this is like off the cuff. Nobody's here. Dogs are quiet. So I figured I would just sit down and kind of go over them. But anyway, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I really do appreciate y'all being here. Thanks a lot. Bye.